Hello friends, welcome to ASP.NET tutorial. In this video, we will display summary in a footer. So we will display different set of records. Then towards the end of the data list, we will display summary information. So here we will be using a different data set, and here this screenshot is from our previous example, but here we will be going to create a completely new web form. Alright, now let's proceed. So before we proceed with the footer summary, here we will be creating a field or a variable called total, and this total we will display it in a footer. And once we link the data source to the data list, it will make a call to ItemDataBound event. So for each and every record, this will get called. So here if you see data list item event args, that is get passed to this ItemDataBound event, and we will be using this object passed in as a parameter. Using that, we can examine what type of item is displayed in the data list. So if we take our previous example, I mean the very first example, it displayed 6 items, right? And each one contains 4 data items, right? Store name, then state and city and state, then zip code. So if you see, there are 6 records, and in each record we will be displaying 4 items. So this ItemDataBound event will get called for all the items. So using this argument E, we check if the item type is list item type or alternating item. Right, list item type is the constant. Why? Because we are using the data list, right? So from this data list item event args, we are checking the enumeration constant. List item type is item or alternate item. So if you use both the item template and alternate item template, when this may be the item and this will be alternate item, alternate item. That's how the flow goes, right? So when this event occurs, it will occur for each records. First time it will be item type, and second time it will be alternate item type. So that's what we are checking here. E, data list event args, that will be passed for each and every record, and item.item type, that's what we are checking, and we are checking that with the constant. So enumeration type here is list item type, item, and alternate item. So if the type is item or alternate item, then here we are taking the quantity. So in this example, we are going to use the sales summary from the PUBs database. So we take quantity field from the database, and that's what here we are using. So if it is item or alternate item type, we know that it's a display record. In our example, we will be using the footer also, right? So we want to run this only for the item or alternate item template. So data binder dot eval, here we are calling the eval function, right? From data binder dot eval, right? So if you see data binder dot eval, that means here we are making call to the static function and we are passing e dot item dot data item. So whatever is the data item, that will be fetched from here, and in the second parameter we give name of the data item. So we want to pick quantity, right, to the evaluate expression. So it will give quantity and we are converting that into short and storing that in the data. Remember, when this event is fired, each time we will be getting item or alternate item, and in this example if you see, it contains 4 data item, right? Store name, city, state, and zip. But in our example, I mean in this example, we are going to retrieve quantity. So we pick, if we assume this one is the quantity, we pick that, right? Data binder dot eval, and there are 4 items bound to that data binder, that means to the data list, and from there we are picking quantity, converting that to short, and we are storing that here. Then we are getting the cumulative of this total, because this will run for all the records, right? And each time we will be calculating the total, and this is simply the running total, or we can say this is the summary, total summary, right? Footer summary here we are calculating. All right, next if you see, update the footer. Since this will run for each and every item, after some point in time the data binder will reach the footer section as well, and that time we will not get inside here, but the e.item.item type will give the type is footer. It is not item or alternate item. We reached the footer, so we get footer. That means the binder will goes top to bottom order, and first it will display, or it will render all the item as well as alternate item. Later it will reach the footer section. So when we reach at this location, by this time we have running total ready with us. So now let's see what we are doing inside this footer section. So from the event argument e.item.find control and LBL sales total. So in the footer template we will be creating a label, right, server side label or ASP label control, and we named that as LBL sales total. That's what we are finding it from the event argument that is passed to this ItemDataBound event. So if you see, we are converting that as a label and storing that in the label control LBL total. Finally, we are making use of the LBL total.text equal to total, which we already calculated, and we are converting that as to string and displaying that. So that's all. Here we will be displaying the running total. So here we just explored the ItemDataBound event and how we are using it. Now let's go to the demo. We will create a new web form, then we will prepare the data source as well as data list. Then we will prepare item template as well as a footer template. Finally, we will implement this ItemDataBound event. So that will conclude this demo. Now let's go to the demo. So here I am in SQL Server Management Studio. We will create a new query. Let's switch to Pubs database, and this is the query we want to use for this example. If you see here, we are taking data from sales table, titles table, and to stores table. So this sales table will give us the quantity. right? So from titles table, we are taking title, and from stores, we are taking the store name, and finally, we are taking the quantity as well. Here we make use of inner join. We have a separate course for SQL Server. So anyhow, here we are making the table join and bringing the data. If you execute it, you can see from pubs table, we are displaying the title. Say, for example, sushi anyone, and shop name is news and brews, and total quantity sold is 20. And we will bring all this record using the data list, and at the same time we will display the summary info which shows total quantity sold by the pubs or publications. All right, now we will select all these query content. We will copy it to clipboard. Now we will create a new web form. And we will click add here. So the web form is added. Here we are switching to design view and dragging and dropping SQL data source control. Configure data source. We will use the existing pub connection for this example. So as part of our previous videos, we created this pubs connection. Since we are in the same solution, explore DataList Control, and since we already created the connection string for pubs, we picked that here. If you need, you can go with a new connection. Now we already copied the query to the clipboard, right? So we will choose this option, specify a custom SQL statement or stored procedure. So in the configure the select statement, we are switching to the first radio option. Then we will click next, and we will paste the copied content, right? This we already examined in SQL Server Management Studio. Click next, and this is our query result. Our dataset is ready now. We will name this dataset as dataset book sales. Next, we will drag and drop a data list item here, and in auto format we will choose slate, apply, and we will assign data source as DS book sales. Now we will select our data list control using this arrow. We can go for edit templates, and we will choose footer template. Right, now we are in a footer template. We can drag and drop some standard controls. So here I'm placing a label, right? And let's go to properties for this label, and we will set a font. Bold is true, and font name is Arial Black, and we can go ahead with the default. So this is the label, right? So text, we can state total quantity and then we will add a space towards the column. Next, we will place one more label control, or we can copy this and put Control V to do the paste, and change the text content to empty and name this label as LBL sales total. Remember, this is what we are referring in our source code using the find control method, right? That's all. Our footer template is ready. Now we can go ahead to this data list 1 and choose end template editing. So display, if you see at present it is showing the footer template, and here we are clicking the link end template editing. So this will register the changes to the footer template. And if you see, this is our footer template. Towards the end you can see that. Now we will select this and switch to Events tab in the Properties window. Then we will handle this ItemDataBound property, event. So double click here. So now we have ItemDataBound event property, and if you see 5 years after an item has been data bound, right? That's the event here we are handling, and this is the handler. Since we need a variable for total or summary information, we declared that as a member variable for our form class, right? This is our web page. Summary footer is our web form name, and we declared a member variable. So this member variable will be available for all the member function. Now we can write code for the ItemDataBound, and this was already explained to you in the slide itself, right? We are making use of this data list item event args, and we check item type is either item or alternate item, right? Then we check whether the item type is footer. So the first section of if condition will get called for all these items, right? And finally, when we come to this footer section, we land into this final part of the if condition, right? So when we come here, by that time the total will be calculated. So we find the LBL sales total, which is in our footer template, right? LBL sales total. We access that, right, using the find control. Then we will access the labels text property and store the total in that text property. So this way we calculate the summary and we display that in our data list. The same technique you can use it for displaying other summary items like maximum quantity, minimum quantity, all those stuff. Alright, now we will save all. Rebuild the solution once and run this in browser. So if you see, this is item and this one is alternate item, and it is displaying title, shop, quantity, all those stuff here. And towards the end you can see the summary is calculated and displayed. So the total quantity is 493. That means the sum of all these quantity sales. If you sum it up, you will get 493. So that's all about this data list example. We are ending this sub-series. Thank you for watching. Bye.